Happy Sunday, everyone, and welcome back to Retake the Week. I am joined, as I always am, by my favourite duck. And yeah, it's going to be a pretty interesting one to discuss because two RMRs are happening. One of them technically still ongoing, the other one finished in the week. And it's a big deal for the game, but there's also been a lot of Tier 2 stuff kicking back off again. And, we love to discuss everything, so we'll bring up a couple topics on that side of things. But let's begin with the RMR in Asia. Now, Quack, I tried to watch as much as I could, which isn't saying a whole lot, considering the game started at 2 a.m. for me. How much of this event did you actually manage to catch live?
None. Because all of the games went from they started at like 3 a.m. and I think they ended at like 10 a.m. So I probably could have caught like the end of some games, but I mostly just followed the results and kept an eye on that. But yeah, it went almost as expected. I think we could say it's not too far out of left field.
Yep.
I mean, the teams that played well were the ones we expected to play well. Um, yeah, still some surprise like Lin Vision making the RMR
Well,
something.
it's one of those things where it's surprising because we've not seen it happen yet. As in, we've seen it every year. It's always one of the Mongolian teams, typically, the Blitz team, and
Mm.
then Greyhound or whoever the number one Australian team is playing for at that given moment. It's been Greyhound historically. But Lin Vision have never been that far off, and we've seen them in the past. Like them and the other top Chinese teams can kind of go toe to toe with at least the Mongols in a lot of open qualifiers. Knock them out those sort of events to make the big stages. So it's not crazy to have seen like this sort of level from them coming, but it's nice to have finally seen it actually manifest. So I'm really impressed with the way Lin Vision played. But I'm going to be honest, I was only able to catch like one of those maps in that best of three against Greyhound, and the other game I watched from this entire event, uh, Greyhound versus Jie Hao, which was garbage. It was one of the worst games of Counter Strike I think I've ever watched. It makes me really happy that I get to watch Tier 3 CS at 9 a.m. most weeks. Like, it was horrible. These teams do not know, they don't know how to play. It's so bad. So it wasn't a great experience, but at least I'm happy with the results because Lin Vision's a team I've been following for a while. For me, it's not a major if the Mongols aren't there with a chance to upset everyone. So yeah, all in all, pretty happy with it. But it's a shame the quality of CS I got to watch was so poor.
Yeah, I mean, this is Asia. I mean, this is there's a reason they only have two spots at the major. They don't play too well, um, but yeah, it's cool to see some teams that we maybe haven't seen before. The Mongols obviously sort of expected. They've done it again with
Mm-hmm.
some new players. Um, yeah, because I think this roster wouldn't have played in Paris. It would have been a different roster by then. Anyway, Greyhound bombing out is kind of interesting because that is the first time they miss a major in a good while. And it's the first time we have no Australian teams at the major in a good while. Um, I'm pretty sure, yeah, they were in Paris and they were definitely in Rio, though they might have been Renegades by then, and they would have probably been in Antwerp as well. So yeah, this is the first major they've missed in a good while for Inns, especially Inns. First time he's not going to a major in a while, and as of yesterday, they have ceased operations as a result,
A bit
which is
crazy.
bit crazy. I kind of don't blame them because like okay, if they already had like sort of a rough financial situation, and then they missed the major with all that sticker money, then that sort of makes sense that you just quit. Um,
But the question is, where did the other sticker money go?
uh, good question.
That's what I'm
Uh,
confused about.
yeah, what did they do? They got Dexter, but I'm not sure they bought him out, and they got
Hmm.
Aircast, who they might have bought out from NKT. Uh, Not huge moves. Probably that sticker money still exists somewhere.
Right, is it one of
Maybe,
those
maybe, maybe,
situations?
maybe all of it went to the players. Like maybe that was in their contract that they just didn't take a lot of it for themselves. That would have been stupid in that case, since they
It's a
pretty
pretty
much had a
horrendous way to run your org, but if that's
yeah.
the
That's
case, but
if that's the case, that's a stupid business decision since you pretty much had a free major spot up until now. So yeah, but no, that's sad. I guess Oceania only had one spot in this RMR, which is also sad. I think there's definitely when we have two Middle Eastern teams, I think there's definitely
yeah,
space
that's
to
the
have.
issue. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's definitely space to have like either Rooster or what is now Bad News Kangaroos. It was Vertex before, I think. Probably could have come here and actually maybe not actually done anything, but like at least showed up.
They played better Counter
Uh,
Strike than Twisted Minds probably did. Let's be
yeah.
honest. If Jijihao is the better of the two teams in that region, then my word, they cannot be playing palatable Counter Strike in any sense of the term.
Yeah, I didn't manage to catch any of the Jijihao maps, but I was kind of happy to see
Got
that
lucky.
Mini had a good event.
Yeah, Mini plays good
Uh,
Counter Strike. He's a talented kid. Like he's got a lot of talent, and I saw some people calling for him to, get picked up by a tier 2 side. Perhaps Endpoint will get tired of Switcher or whoever they last signed and go back to Middle East signings because Mini's talented. But the team overall, I mean, I'll just describe it for you now. You don't have to go watch it. They will spend a minute and a half defaulting and slowly lurking around, taking like map control by not actually achieving anything. And then they will try to run in late, do that classic old school final rush style, except everything's really disconnected. The second prong, for some reason, is 10 seconds late every goddamn time, and there's no trading, and they will just die. And if Mini
all
kills
right.
everyone, they win a round. Or if Issa gets a triple kill, somehow magically, they'll win a round. But other than that, like, there was seemingly little to no game plan, and it wasn't very pretty.
Yeah. No, but it's cool to see him realize that. I picked him as prospect of the week a couple of weeks ago, so you can go back and watch that. Issa didn't do shit. He had like one good map. Two good maps. Yeah.
No, there's not much. There's not much more to talk about in terms of them, but like the other teams here, I think the most important one we touched on it briefly is Lin Vision, because they've been a force in the Chinese scene for a while. They've got a lot of young guys. One of the more interesting moves that they've kind of gone through is they've recently signed an AWPer and kept their old AWPer and moved it on to the rifles. So for those who didn't know, like Zaka was AWPing before, but they signed this G guy and now he's AWPing. And they
Oh.
both still played pretty well at this event. And I've watched some gameplay with like Zaka actually rifling. He's not a bad rifler by any means, so it kind of worked out nicely for them. But it wasn't a move
Yeah.
I was expecting when I was watching the event. I was like, oh, who's G? And then I see G AWPing. I'm like, why the hell is Zaka here? And then it slowly, like, came together. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Cool. Zaka's now a full-time rifler and not that bad at it.
Yeah. The team has obviously been pretty high up in China for a good while. Starry, they made some waves in 2021. I remember because they beat G2 somewhere.
They won a map against G2 in a best of three. They don't
Yeah.
think they even beat them. But Starry had a great event. Yeah.
But they also made headline because right about at the same time there was that thing with the Chinese law about kids not being allowed to play video games, which would have put
Yeah.
Starry's career, like it was close to ending Starry's career pretty early. But they've also kept the core. Like the core of this team have stayed together quite long. Like Westmelon has been here for almost 7 years now. Zacher as well has been here for 4.5 years. Starry for 2.5 years. So it's cool to see that like effort being put into this team is actually kind of paying off. So yeah, I'll buy some of these stickers. It's a cool logo.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's a pretty cool one. I've always been I'm always a fan of the big like animal logos. Like a lot of the coolest logos in history do involve a good animal. So credit to them. I'm wondering. Yeah, the biggest issue you have now in the Chinese scene is what the hell did Tai Lu do? Because they looked so flat. They're supposed to be the best team in China, or the Chinese scene, whatever you want to call it. But they looked really weird. And like when you look at the roster and you think about, most importantly, fragging power, cutting Moseo seems like such a terrible idea. Like when he's now technically still a substitute. He's not like benched officially, so they can just bring him back at will, and they should because there's something in this roster that just isn't firing. They're lacking another fragger, and Moseo was that guy before. So hopefully they can bring him back and have a little more punch next time because they looked really weak.
Yeah, I forgot they made that move.
I think most
Especially
people did because most people don't watch the Chinese scene like year round. We see them at these sorts of events, right?
yeah, weird move, and especially bringing in Aumann, who's all right, I guess, but he's 29. And he's a decade older. Yeah, okay. It's a weird move. Tyloo seem to be making a lot of weird moves. I feel like they don't really know what they're doing with their rosters. Because they had, first of all, they had a pretty good roster, like from the start with when they had Danking, and that sort of roster.
Yeah.
Let's see
Had
if
it
I
for
can
a
find
long
it.
time.
It was Summer Attacker, Danking, Freeman, and Aristo, and then I think Slowly was sort of in and out of there.
Yeah.
And then they made the like European. Somebody was there for a while as well, before Aristo. Then they made the European Mix project, which was cool as fuck. I thought that this would wreck in Asia, to be honest.
You talking
When
about the
they
Emmy
put
and
in,
Rogo one?
they brought Slowly back. They put Letney in as coach, Emmy as IGL. Emmy brought Roga with him, who was looking pretty good at the time. And then you get Score, and I thought that this thing was gonna just. Freeman was also there, and I thought that this was just gonna wreck the Asian scene. Because
Right.
on paper, that's a pretty cool fucking lineup. They didn't win a map. I genuinely think they won 2 maps total out of like 20 tries. They dropped that team. They signed the
Yeah.
Rare Atom squad when they leave their team. They remove one of the more promising players for Alman. And I don't know, maybe they didn't. Maybe Mosia didn't want to keep playing. I know that Dunking. I don't know if that's why Dunking was benched, but like when Dunking was removed, I was really surprised because he was looking really good. But then I found out afterwards he just became like a desk talent. Like he hasn't in China. He is a talent member, like pimp.
Oh.
Uh,
Okay.
he's effectively retired, even if he's on Tyler's bench. So maybe he just didn't want to keep playing. Maybe Moseo didn't want to keep playing, but it's a very very strange move. I feel like they keep making weird moves, and I wonder what they're gonna do
Yeah.
now that major.
No, it's got to be a change. If Museo is still willing to compete, have to bring him back. You can't justify having guys like Advent and Alman on the same roster and not have anyone else to make up for it. Like they needed a fragger at this event. That was clear to see. Their strategies, their leadership just isn't strong enough to outthink and out chemistry other teams. They need the fraggers, and cutting that guy didn't make sense. But I think that's the biggest talking points of the Asia RMR sorted. I don't really think we need to talk about certain other teams like Atox, Twisted Minds. We don't need to delve deep into it. We were never expecting that much from them, and it's a shame that, yeah, it's a shame Greyhound had to close operations. I want to hear the story of why at this point. This is the moment, because I get it that they're not making sticker money this year, but like, it's so much money. It's so much goddamn money. So maybe their players are massively overpaid. Who knows? But ongoing right now is the Americas RMR. And the Americas RMR is interesting because every time we come into it, we usually have our pretty set expectations of who we want to see perform and who we expect to see perform. And every year it seems like everyone loses a bunch of best of ones and occasional best of threes to random fucking Brazilian teams. Literally random at times. Now, this year, it's been fairly predictable in terms of like when you saw the 2 Brazilian teams match up with like 2 crappy American teams in the 0-1 bracket, you're like, okay, I'll bet on the Brazilians. But still, we got like Pain 2-0. It might be ours beating people. Furia 2-0, which based on their form we'd seen coming into this, is more of a shock that they're 2-0 than 0-2. Like I was expecting them to be 0-2 before I was expecting them 2-0. So a lot of weirdness happening. Liquid losing a map, of course, they did have to play Furia. But also like being played pretty close by Bestia. I don't think this is a particularly confidence building event so far. If you're watching Liquid, it's been a bit touch and go.
They are genuinely in danger of getting knocked out at this point. I feel like. I know I don't remember the exact specifics of how this happened, but there's a chance we get Complexity versus Liquid as the deciding game. Which I kind of hope we don't get. I want to see both at the major, but yeah, it's weird. I watched small sections of this event. I watched Nouns versus Furia because I was so convinced Nouns were gonna beat Furia. And honestly, like watching that game, it was horrible from both fucking teams. It was it was horrible Counter Strike, and even I can say that I don't even have much of an analytical eye like in the server. This was horrible. On their T side, Nouns did fuck all. They just let Furia get multifrag after multifrag. They just didn't do shit. Um, and then they move over to the city side. But like Furia just ran away with the economy and they had 10-2. On their own city side, Nouns found something that actually worked, which was smoke things. And that forced every single round, Furia would push through a smoke and take a 1v1 or a 1v2 duel and lose. At best, it's a 1-for-1 trade. And then Nouns just win the round by having better trades and Furia just push smokes. I swear it. Nouns won, I think, 6 rounds in a row because they managed to get frags when K-Serrato pushed the smoke. Like, it was weird to see. And then Nouns lose, in my opinion, because they stopped playing on their smokes and started playing in a different way, which maybe is nerves, I guess. But I mean, yeah, expected that Furia beats Nouns, but I honestly thought Nouns was going to win that because Furia have looked so horrible lately. And then Furia just, because I said to you after this game, I said, if Furia play like they did against Nouns for the rest of this RMR, they are not making the major. And
Yeah.
then they turn around and they beat Liquid, and I didn't watch this game. Maybe they did play like they played against Nouns, but maybe Liquid are just worse.
No,
Like,
it's weird. It's really weird to see that.
yeah,
Like,
so now we have either Imperial or Pain are guaranteed a major spot. And I'm actually going to bring the major sim up now, just while we're talking.
mhm.
So we're going to have either Pain or Imperial at the major. We're going to have either Fury or Complexity, which was expected, I guess. I'm expecting Complexity. I think they've looked good so far, even if they played poor opposition. They at least haven't played it as close as Liquid did.
The game against
Uh,
Boss was not. It was not very fun to watch. It wasn't very. How'd you put it? How'd I put this nicely? It didn't fill me with confidence. Let's just say that I wasn't
Boss
very happy with their game against Boss.
Boss also
Because
beat MIBR though, so
I don't care. They're not good.
I don't know. I think okay.
MIBR
So
play losable Counter Strike. Let's put it that way. MIBR
oh,
constantly playing a way where you can beat them. No matter who you are, you can beat MIBR. They're not gonna. They're not exactly a complex team. If you can win heads-up duels against certain players, you will beat MIBR. The problem is usually those players win those duels, and that's why they smashed NRG on that first map, especially.
yeah.
But no,
Uh,
that was not exactly something to write home about. If you're
yeah,
a
we have
complexity fan,
we have an interesting game tonight. There's M80 versus Wildcard. I think a lot of people would have thought that maybe both of these teams could have made it, but at least one of them. And this is an elimination series, so they're not even guaranteed to go through. You've got Team Liquid obviously kind of against the wall because they have to beat Boss. Um, could they do it? Probably could.
could they? They should. They
They
should
should. They
crush
should. But
Boss. I will be watching that series intensely because, like, their game against Bestia, it wasn't actually. It was a pretty flattering scoreline for Bestia when you actually looked at and watched the game. Like some of the rounds they won, but all in all, this is still Liquid. We're still expecting better things. And Boss is nothing. Like we've seen Boss in domestic play be very unimpressive. So I'm expecting big things from Liquid here. I'm expecting an actual comfortable route. Like this shouldn't be a close game at all. Not even the slightest.
I am looking at some of the different combinations of results here, and it does look like Liquid could genuinely have like a half difficult final matchup. Like a lot of the scenarios involved playing like MIBR or M80 or Complexity, like I said before, or Pain,
Yeah.
which is like you would have hoped. This is sort of the seeding again because I think Liquid had the second lowest seed because they weren't RMR, because they weren't Valve ranked.
God damn, I hate this.
I mean, you would have hoped to see Liquid in like a final matchup against Odic or something like that, but they could have they could have a slightly different route. So it's going to be cool to see how these games play out in the evening.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, there's a small thing to touch on with the RMR thing. I didn't put it in the show notes, but Complexity are bought back by Jason Lake, and I just want to ask: do you think they
Yes.
can bring back the old branding for the major if they make it?
The old branding meaning the red one, with the
Yeah.
long.
No, not the super long one because they had a slightly newer one afterwards, which was more.
I don't remember
But
off the top of my head, but I doubt it changes now. I don't know. I feel like everything had to have been submitted already. So maybe they'll have like jerseys.
I think it could work because I think
Uh,
Cloud9 signed the Russian roster between the RMR and the major, so I think it could work, and they still got stickers.
Maybe, but
The reason I'm asking is because I think they have to remove the star thing since they are no longer they're not going to be affiliated with the Dallas Cowboys. So even if they want to keep that branding, I'm not sure they can because
well, the
that's like
rights of it don't just magically disappear immediately.
no,
It will
no,
take
but
some time to like actually expire in that sort of sense. They
yeah,
probably
yeah,
can use it, but I know what you mean.
they probably don't want
Uh,
to because they're not tied there anymore, and maybe Dallas Cowboys straight up want to be like, we don't want you to use our star branding, like even if it isn't theirs, but like it's maybe they just don't want it.
Man, I'm trying
I
to see the
just
point where it switched to like is it 2020, 2019, 2018?
2020 end of 2019, yeah, they got the Dallas Cowboys thing, I think.
So yeah, it's that. So I'm thinking of the right thing. It's the weird like red and grey sea sort of shapes.
Yeah, I think it looks good. A lot of people want it back.
I'm not too fussed. Maybe it does come back, maybe it doesn't. I think they could
Yep.
just do with a rebrand. I'm gonna be honest. I always thought their branding was a bit meh. So
Yep.
we'll see what comes of it. More importantly, Complexity is a team that you do not want to face in a decider match if you are Liquid and you need a win to go through. Like, I don't want to face Complexity. I don't mind facing a team like MAT because they are so top heavy right now with Def standing in. I don't mind facing like a wild card because honestly their best players looked really bad so far. I mean, I'm really rooting for Jay, but I'm a big fan of his. I've talked a lot about him with like on other shows, and I really hope he can perform online because online he's an absolute demon. Like Flit with a better deagle, basically, is how a lot of comps go. I wish we could see some more of that here. We haven't seen it at all yet. So please give us something better. We're
One of
rooting for you.
my one of my favorites is doing well. Sonic. He's doing all right so far.
Yeah, that guy. That guy. I mean, hey, he's on the same team. If the team keeps winning, we get to see more of them. So, not going to complain.
Yeah.
Not going to complain at all.
Before we move on, should we just take 2 seconds to laugh at NRG?
I mean, they're here by default. I'm not sure they were prepping this event, right?
There's no way.
And they've shown up and looked horrible. They're already out, aren't they? Yeah, they're out. They got crushed by MIBR. I watched some of the MIBR game actually. Now that I think about it, and basically, if this team doesn't have Hexed like blowing things open, like him and then like the Fang kind of like trade off duo is like Hex gets two, Fang gets another one, and then at that point they can win a fucking round. If that's not happening, they're horrible. Breezy does not look ready to play in the games I've seen, even online. He doesn't look that great. OC has somehow got worse. So poor Daps has got this horrible situation where his boom or bust players is only one who can even ever boom, really. Like XT and then Fang, who's I've been rooting for him for a while, and I think he's as mechanically skilled as you can be. Really, he's just not the best thinker of the game. Like, he doesn't choose his angles very well. He doesn't choose his fights very well. So if you have to micro him, somehow pull Breezy and OC out of a slump and hope Hexty doesn't die on his opening attempts, as an IGL, what the fuck can you do? Like, it's so rough. So I feel for Daps. I feel this roster was a good idea, but there's just a couple players which are not pulling their weight ever, let alone at this event. So yeah, pretty rough. Pretty rough. But yeah, the next topic, a bit more of a hipster one, a bit of a tier 2 one. Even though Bleed are the talk of the town, we are going to be talking about the event they're playing in. Coincidentally, they've been playing in the Res Regional Series 1, Europe. And they're in a group that's pretty fun. For us, especially. They're playing Young Ninjas and Big and Amcal. They didn't actually get to play. But that was their group, which is really cool. If you think about like what we've seen from the RMRs, this whole like event looks a lot more interesting. When you think who's actually made it through, who played a good game, who didn't. Like Group A, Group B, and Group D especially are full of interesting teams. And even Rebels in Group C, put up something of a fight in Katowice that was worth talking about. So, but let's focus on Bleed, because as you put it in the show notes, they finally won a damn thing. They've won games. They've done something. So, what's going on? Like, has anything changed gameplay wise? Because I haven't. I'm going to be honest. Bleed, I watched during their open quali runs because everyone was broadcasting them, and I was like, oh, I might as well pay attention. And it was a bit grim to watch. I thought certain players just really didn't look up to snuff. Like Farven especially disappointed the hell out of me. Has it been a better story at this event? Like, who's actually been their big players?
It's actually been Hampus and Farven. But I've been saying this week, I think this is their first good result. I think this is the first time they've had like a group stage or even a game where they can come away and say we did good. Like, we didn't just make the best out of a poor situation or outright fail. They have sort of quietly removed Lonix and added Vladen, which is interesting. Someone pointed out, for all of the transparency Casada has been speaking about, we have no fucking idea what happened to Lonix. But yeah, okay. This is, as far as we know, this is not official. He's just playing there. I think they're still keeping an eye on like Cypher or like. But yeah, Vladen coming in. He hasn't even played that good of a game in this event. He's 1.10. He's the fourth worst, or he's the second worst player. So they still haven't really fixed Cypher. I think Cypher is maybe doing a bit better, but overall, I think the team just feel a bit more comfortable. Because now you have Hampus had a very big game against Godsent. Faven has been playing pretty decent. Even Cirque isn't really doing anything. He's below 1.0 so far, but they're still winning games. I mean, we should say this is against Big, who have a old new Opper and JDC being brought back. This means they literally just switched back to German from English, so there might be some growing pains there, or like some transitioning troubles. And they also had to play Young Ninjas, who played with had a very good game against Amkel, to be honest. But they did. Oh wait, actually, they did play with a full roster in this game. They've been having. They were at a boot camp, the Young Ninjas, and I know that Maxter and Yokab had like some sickness, so Res had to stand in for both of them at various points.
Yeah.
But this game they did play with a full roster, and yeah, Maxter played a good game. Faven and Hampus played an even better game, and they won. And now they're in the playoffs. The playoffs, they're going to be one of the 8 teams in playoffs. Young Ninjas and Big are playing for that chance this evening as well. Good job, good job. I'm not even going to say that like Vladen came in and carried this team, because he didn't. But apparently him being on the team makes the others work a little bit better, maybe.
Yeah. There's reasons for that. I think it's because officially, I don't think Larnax is even cut. He's still on the team, like listed, and I've not seen any news come out. And yeah, I just checked Kassar's Twitter while you were talking. There's not a mention of anything. So perhaps it was purely temporary. But for me,
Yeah.
it made sense in the sense that Launex, there was a bit of overlap between like what I want in my head, him, Cypher, and Hampus to do. Like even if Launex is more like a second prong kind of guy than say Cypher is, there's still moments where I'm like, yeah, but I want Hampus to have the freedom to like do this sort of weird shit that he likes to do a bit. If that's why if he's on my team, I want him playing Hampus as Counter Strike. Like I don't want him trying to imitate Snappy, because he's not. I want him doing this sort of thing, and Launex felt like he's kind of getting in the way. I wanted a more traditional support sort of piece in that place, like a Crims, and that's kind of what Vladen's ended up, I think, doing, is provide them with a more stable player who can run in the pack and play some standard anchor positions very well, and allow Hampus to be a little more crazy, because he is a little more of a, sort of unique player in the way he likes to approach things. And he likes to take a lot of risks, and I want him to be free to take those risks if I'm signing him. I'm buying into him. I want to do that. The big disappointment for me, though, are the games I've watched, the maps, well, half maps-ish. I've watched very little Bleed recently, but the brief moments I've seen, Circus looked horrible. The stats, I checked them whilst we were talking as well. It's like, they also look horrendous. This has been a terrible, terrible showing from Cirque recently. Like, his overall, last 3 months average looks fine, but at this event especially, it's in the dumpster. And I'm really disappointed, because I thought, Cirque, this is a perfect time to relaunch. We're bringing him back, and instead it's been just ugly Counter Strike. So maybe that's the next move. Maybe that's the next thing we hear about. We hear Larnex gone, in comes Vladen, out goes Cirque, in comes who knows? Maybe the OG roster gets salvaged for parts, and they end up with Regali, or something like that happens, because it's not working, and I wonder how long he's actually going to get before they just go, let's try someone else.
Yeah, I have just checked as well. Vladen did play 3 maps instead of Cypher. So Lonix was on the server as well. So I think it is just the case that they had 2 riflers they were unhappy with, and they put Vladen in to kind of like see what works.
Oh, so he's played instead of Larnex and instead of Cypher.
Yeah, so I think they've done a bit of a trying out a little bit different bits and bobs.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, team structure is just working better, I think. I don't know if he was doing this before, but Hump is playing very aggressive as well on T side. I feel like he's taking a lot more.
That's kind of what you want, right? That's what I'm talking about, right? It's kind of what you're looking for.
It is. I don't know if he was doing that before, and I don't know if Lonix being in the way would have even changed that. Maybe this is just a change that happened, like coincided with it. But
sure.
If they're more happy with Vladen and they play better because of it, then good job, I guess. But yeah, they're a long ways off being making the Shanghai major, both in time and in level right now. Cool event. It has $100,000 in the prize pool, which is just it's not a huge amount, but it makes teams like Fnatic and BetBoom actually show up.
It's worth
which
it.
Is nice
for an online event. It makes it worth it.
Yeah, and that's very nice for the teams who, I mean, everyone here is invited, but like it's very nice for the teams like Aurora and Alternate Attacks and Sangal and Ecstatic, who otherwise might not have had this opposition. So very nice that they're sort of getting to play against teams like this.
Mhm.
Monty already knocked out. I have just seen they did lose to Ecstatic right now.
Oh, is that going on right now?
Yep.
Literally. Okay.
They just ended. Monty playing with Kvem and Gizmi. But yeah, I don't know if we touched on that last week. That SDY left. Oh, never mind. It happened this week.
It's this
Spoilers.
week. Yeah. Come on, don't jump the gun.
Yeah.
But on that note, we probably can move on and talk about, well, the Eternal Shuffle.
Mm.
It's always happening, it's always ongoing, and yeah, here we are. There's been a bunch of moves, and I think I'll start with the one that was the biggest news, the one that everyone talked about immediately, the one that everyone had the same fucking idea for. And that's Astralis cutting Blame F, or him benching himself, whatever you want to call it. And in comes Bro. Now, before the Bro part gets announced, just when we know Blame F benched, the conversations many people had were interesting. And a lot of us all had the same fucking idea, just separately. Because I first get messaged by you talking about what's happening with Astralis, and I'm like, oh, okay. I then get a message from someone else being like, hey, yo, you never guess what's happening at Astralis. I'm like, I think I can actually, but anyway.
Yeah.
And we end up having a whole conversation about what can Blame F go and do, and what Astralis going to do. And if you guys have ever seen, there's a meme out there that's like when we were one turn away from completing the Rubik's Cube. If you don't know what I mean, look it up, you'll find it. Well, we had a sort of similar move in mind here, where you just move Blame F to a team, then move a player along, and everything just slots nicely in. And the idea is this: Blame F goes to Gamer Legion. Because Gamer Legion lacks star power on the rifles and on the orb, but they lack star power in general. Snacks, honestly, the way he called kind of was a little bit around himself, like to a certain extent, like to allow himself to go make moves, because he is a pretty smart player. So why not just have Blame F do that to the extremes? Have a bunch of these like weak players who don't know what a mouse is, like throw flashes instead of wasting everyone's time. Like, it makes sense to me. And then you move Snacks up, he goes on to Ents, completing a full Polish roster. And you're like, okay, cool. Now Ents is a cool story with a dedicated fan base. Maybe it's not the most effective in terms of Counter-Strike long term. I think they're the ones who take the biggest hit. But still, they get Snacks. And then Glaive is freed up and he can return back to Astralis. And look, full Danish team, everything locks into place. Gorgeous. I had that idea in that conversation. Like, it wasn't just my idea. It was like, I said, like, Bordies, and you go here. And then it's like, but then he can go here. And then we all finally locked it. Oh, like, you know, locked eyes, like, perfect moment. Instead, they sound Bro, and now Device is calling. What are we? Huh?
Yeah.
Whose fucking idea was this? Because Device is miserable, and now he's IGL. How does this work? How's that going to make him happy? I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Okay, so Device says this is a natural evolution to his career, and I think
Didn't Shots say the same thing?
yes, I think Valle, the Swedish player, who 1.6 player, he made a tweet about this because he did IGL, and he made a very long tweet about all of this, which I'll be honest, I haven't read all of it, but he did. The gist of it was, it's worrying that Device says this is a natural progression in his career, because probably it just isn't. Because let's just think for a second, how many players have been veterans, not to the degree like in time that Device is. He's already played most of his career. Remove the success and just like think about the time. Have then transitioned to IGL and had even the slightest bit of success. And the list becomes very short because it's pretty much Apex, and maybe you could count Magisk because he had one event where he was calling and he did good.
And he was, but he wasn't exactly that deep into it, was he? Like, he's nowhere near as deep into it as he is now. Like, he was pretty early on when he had to do that temporary shit, Nick. Like, it wasn't.
Yeah, he was still. I think he would have been 2 or 3 years in Astralis. I think 2 or 3 years in Astralis. No, yeah, sorry, definitely 3 years in Astralis. But yeah, he's probably still in the first half of his career. So yeah, Apex is probably the only one on that list, and yeah, but a bunch have tried. I feel like it's often said that like and pretty much any experienced player can do alright as an IGL. I just flat out don't think that's true anymore.
When was it true? I'm
No,
being
I
honest.
think it never was. I think it never was. I just mean I don't think that anymore. I thought that before.
Right.
I think there's one element that a lot of experienced players can do, which is have a good understanding of the game, which I think devices can do fine at. But then I think there's a huge personality component that I just think you really underestimate when you say this is a natural progression to my career. Are you like the natural leader of the team? And it's possible device is. I just think the odds are kind of stacked against him on this. Um, Being an IGL is a very difficult task. I think a lot of people underestimate that. They think it's just the person who calls the shots, but there's a different section to all of this. Bro coming in is weird. I mean, I guess blame it for Yabi getting the cut was probably always going to happen, and because you needed to resolve that role conflict between the two of them. Bro coming in isn't the worst thing. I mean, as a player, let's just remove the IGL component. Bro is a half decent player to put in here, I think.
He's not bad. Like
He's not bad, and I think you needed someone who could sort of play his positions. They already had a player who could sort of play those positions on the bench. It's Buzz. Uh, he's still there, but yeah. And then when you remove the IGL, like when you think about the IGL component again, it's just awful. I that because then I just don't think.
we haven't solved anything in that sense.
Yeah, you haven't solved anything. You probably could have solved it. Like even if you did sign an IGL into the positions that Bro are going to be playing, you probably could have solved this because you had two Danish IGLs who didn't make the major and are thus like up for signing immediately. Astralis don't have anything lined up for like the next month, so they probably could have waited post major as well. I don't know why they rushed this. But the two IGLs I'm thinking about are TMB and Bird from Sky. And on a Bird from Sky is like a half joke, but like, what the fuck else are they gonna do? Apparently, they think it's a better option to have device IGLing than sign Bird from Sky.
Bird from
And
Sky's a bit of
TMB,
a weird character in the scene, though. He's a bit. Look, nothing's ever been proven, and we had a whole video, like, kind of memeing on the idea that he like used radar hack. Because I don't think
yeah,
he ever did. But
no,
it's just not. Considering that, plus the fact that he is notoriously a terrible individual, I don't think it was ever going to happen for a big team to sign him. But the more interesting discussion is TMB. Because
I
TMB
think
is the next Danish IGL, really. If there's going to be anyone, it's going to be TMB. Or
it
it's going to
is
be
it
whoever's
is
calling in Ecstatic. That's
it
it.
is not the first time. Whoever's calling in Ecstatic is Patty, and I think honestly, after they bombed out of the RMR, I think they were kind of holding out for Ecstatic to also bomb out. And then them making
Yeah.
the major kind of stopped them from making the move because Patti was on Astralis Talent just before this, did great, went to Ecstatic, did great. He's a good individual player, and both of the teams had good results. And but now he's in the major, so you can't really sign him. I think it's not the first time that TMB has been like available for Astralis to sign, or at least like realistic for Astralis to sign when they needed a player. So I think there's a chance that he's just said no each time, and he keeps doing that.
Oh, he's saying no, or they
Uh,
don't want him. Like, there is something we don't know about. Because remember, he's not a player who started as an IGL. He's a player
yep.
who's filled in as an IGL when the Mad Lions sort of project started falling to like bits. He was one of the players trying to hold it together. Back when they had like 4 second AWPers and no real AWPer. That sort of era of Mad Lions.
There's a small thing to say here. TMB got signed to that Mad Lions project as the 8 core replacement as an AWPer, and they wanted him to AWP. And then when everybody else left and it was just TMB left in the end, they said, we want you to be the AWPer and we can build a team around you. And he said, no, I don't want to do that. I want to be the IGL. So he actually chose to be the IGL and like a supportive rifler before they built the team around him, which is an interesting thing to note because that actually says like on the thing about transitioning to being an IGL, he sort of did that quite early on. He was kind of committed to trying to do that quite early on. Then, of course, like he's been sort of in and out of it because he did play with Bird from Sky for half a year on Copenhagen
Yeah.
Flames. So he's not like like 100% on it, but like he's there's a difference in mentality when you have the chance to be the team star opera that you build the team around, and then you go, no, I want to be the caller actually, which is to his credit, I think. But he's on Preezy now. I don't know if they even asked him. If they
Maybe
did,
not.
I don't know if he would have said yes.
No, but I do think that's basically we've now listed off essentially 3 options that are all better than signing a random rifler. I could be honest.
Yep.
Like there's the whole like idea of trying to get Glaive back. There's TMB, and there's trying to steal Patty from Ecstatic when they inevitably go 0-3 in the Challenger Series. Like
Oh, there's
there's
4 options. You could have just brought Buzz back up to the roster.
yeah, if you're keeping his trials as the IGL, but I don't think that's a real solution.
Yeah.
In my eyes, that's just
No, it
not
isn't.
not a
It isn't.
plan. Like that's just
It's just
no,
that's not a
no.
solution either. It's just better than what they did. Like it just is.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure, probably, but yeah, again, there's too much stuff going on probably behind the scenes we don't really get to hear about. But I do think there's long term. This was not it. Now that you remind me who Patty is, because I don't see the Ecstatic roster has never titillated me. I'm gonna be honest. I've always
It's never
heard
been
like
huge.
historically guys like Salazar have been like overhyped and stuff like that, and I always hear the names and I always just shake my head and go, I've seen him play. Like I'm not that interested. Like Nodios is a guy who had a lot of fake hype. I was just checking; they did have Cabby at one point. I got told on Twitter once that he's the next Danish like player. I was like, what? He really wasn't at the time. And he still isn't now. So yeah, it's an
Kragan's
interesting.
mom was on Twitter and called him her little donk.
Yeah, I mean
Uh,
that's his mum. Like she's not a talent scout. She's his mum.
I just thought it was funny. It was funny.
It's cute, but
It's
it's
a
like it's so
it's a it's
relevant.
a it's a fun era in Counter Strike when we have players' moms going on Twitter and calling their players like my little donk, which yeah.
Yeah, a bit strange. Thank the heavens every day that my parents don't have Twitter accounts. Uh, but no, that's enough talk about Astralis because
Oh, I have one final
please,
fun
please,
talking
because
point
the
about
bad
Astralis
taste is
before we
starting
go
to
on.
get like so aggressive.
Before we go on, I just had one funny thing about Astralis. It was when they posted the announcement about signing Bro, they wrote that he had great achievements, including a great run at the Paris Major with Monty, which he wasn't in. He has never played
No.
a major in his life.
They must have the same guy writing the things as the guy who writes the like the IEM like fucking welcome letters.
Yeah, yeah.
Just doesn't know who
It's
he's talking about.
yeah. He's just like, oh, Monty, they did that. Like, yeah, no, it's yeah. Let's move on. Let's move on.
Let's move
Speaking
on.
about Monty,
Yeah, it's
the
obviously
next move.
Monty is the next topic, the next like big thing to talk about. Technically down 2 players now because Bro's also gone. But yeah, SDY was the big one for a lot of us. We saw that happen and thought, oh crap, like he was kind of what made Monty work. I think when he initially joins Monty though, it's because he gets cut from Navi, and well, technically it was like wasn't he like a stand-in who then just didn't get fully added on? See, like they needed him
He
for like 6 months and they just didn't keep him, I
They
believe.
did keep him because he did re-sign a
So
contract,
there
but
was
then
a
they dropped
resign.
him.
Okay, so then they
Yeah.
dropped him, and I always thought he got hard done by. Honestly, I thought he played his role as well as he could in that Navi roster. I thought he made perfect sense in there. Like he was never the best player on the team, but you're playing with Electronic, Bit, and Simple. You were never going to be the best player on the team, and I thought he did his job. So I thought he took too much slack in that team. But then he came to Monty, he proved everyone wrong because he was sick in Monty, and Monty had great results, arguably at times better than Navi. So the fact that he now leaves the project has me scratching my head because I thought it was a great fit. I thought they had stuff to build on. It just depends on what he does now. I'm not sure who Monty can even bring in long term, but more importantly for SDY's sake, because he's got cred now. Like we want to see him in tier 1 teams. We want to see him playing with talent and trying to make things work because he's made so much out of so little, it seems, in that Monty lineup. What comes next is a big mystery, and hopefully it's going to be a big talking point for the coming week or so. Because yeah, SDY's kind of that guy now. He's one of them. He's one of the guys you want to see play.
I think SDY, Blame F, and JKS are probably like the top 3 players that are available right now that you want to sign if you're rebuilding after the major.
In that order,
And
SDY at the top.
probably yeah. It's cool that he's available. It's very cool. He can play a pretty wide variety of roles. I think he definitely could. I mean, he could definitely lean sort of forward and be one of your star players. He could also like be the player hanging back a bit. He could play more supportive roles like he did on Navi. I don't think he wants to, but like he could. He's showed that he can, to some degree, be an IGL. I don't know how much Monty was a bunch of friends playing together, or and actually like a team with a system with a caller who actually like maybe it wasn't a huge responsibility in Monty to be the caller, especially since he swapped it back and forth with War 2K without meaningfully impacting the results.
Yeah,
But
or play style. Yeah,
yeah, still played under LMBT, so like there's not he can do he's maybe he has that leader component and just doesn't have the caller component. he's a cool player. He's a very cool player, and he's been doing a lot of good shit for a lot of years. It's not just Navi, it's not just Monty. I remember when he was on Spirit. I remember I was very surprised when he got cut from there, because I felt like SDY towards the end of 21, when SDY, Mir, and Dexter were just banging. I thought, holy shit, Spirit are gonna be a top team, and then they ended up being a top team, but with a completely different roster.
Yeah.
They But SDY is a cool player. I think he could land on a lot of good teams. I would imagine NIP are talking to him right now. I would imagine I could see him on a team like Gamer Legion for sure.
Oh, he'd be an immediate upgrade over any of their riflers. So yeah, sign him. Any of the
Yeah,
positions.
pretty much. I won't even argue with that. It pretty much is. Yeah. Uh, he could end up in a lot of different places. So yeah, it's cool that he's available. They've brought in Kvem, at least temporarily. Once again, we haven't had an announcement for that, I don't think, but Kvem has been
No.
playing with them. And when Boro left, or Bro left, they brought up Gizmi, the academy player, who also stood in during the RMR. Good player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very young.
Yeah. I wonder if this is the time we see Monte start to fall off, because they missed the major. I'm pretty sure they have a few tier 1 events lined up. Yeah, they have the showdown, they have Chengdu, they have EPL, they have Dallas. So we're going to see them for a bit longer, but I wonder if we're going to see Monty sort of taper off and stop being the tier 1 team. I always feel like they've sort of been pretending to be a tier 1 team for all this time. They do get some results, but like they don't feel like it. They're a bedroom org with like a bunch of friends playing together. And yet they have sort of come pretty far. So I wonder if this is the time we start seeing them taper off, now that they did lose SDY. I'm not sure if Kvem can meaningfully replace him. Gizmi probably can't. But yeah,
I mean,
it's
Kvem comes in. Kvem plays like very differently, so it'll be a different roster just in terms
yeah.
of how they end up performing and how they end up playing. But I think it's been really impressive the run they've gone on, because it started like a bunch of teams we've seen over the last like year and a bit with a massive run at the Paris Major, the clown show that was. But rather than basically just clinging onto that like sort of ranking via invite and the occasional opening match upset, they've actually continually performed. Like they've made deep runs at events, they've won tier 2 lands, like Challenger Jönköping they won. Like they actually did stuff. So Monty get full credit in my eyes. It's a legit team, legit pieces. Anytime a player like basically comes up, like a Warrior 2K comes available, you should sign him. Demka becomes available, you should sign him. SDY, you should sign him. Krasnow and Bro are always the two question marks, but clearly they played well enough for this team to make real runs. So yeah, I don't think there's a lot you can say about them that's negative. So I really think that they deserve a lot of credit for the way they've managed to put this together. I think the two guys at the core of this are Warrior 2K and SDY. But I think, yeah, Demka recovered his reputation pretty well in this roster, played really good Counter Strike, and hopefully they can all keep building. I'm not sure if the Kvem move by itself is going to be enough to keep them in this sort of level. We've yet to see him at meaningful events himself. But if they can make a signing of like him, because he's talented, and someone else who's got a little more experience, I think they can keep banging. They can keep coming back. Sure, they missed out on this major. Don't see why they wouldn't make Shanghai, though. They're still like high on my list of teams who should make Shanghai.
Could be. Like, full credit to the results. I don't want to take away from that, but I feel like if you were told the story of Monty, and like someone described Monty to you and you never heard of them, you wouldn't think they were a top team. Uh, but they are. They just play a good game. So we'll see. We'll see if they can replace STY. I think maybe we should move on to the next move, and I did
Oh,
touch
yeah.
on this as well. JKS is a free agent. He was already benched on G2. It's not a lot to talk about here, but it's once again that a lot of teams are probably rebuilding, and they are probably thinking about JKS. There's one slight fun detail that I told you about that I might want to mention here.
Go for it.
There is support in the major rules that you can change. So every roster at the RMR and major, they register a 5-man roster and optionally a coach and a substitute, one substitute. And during the course of the RMR cycle, you cannot change this roster. This is your roster that you are signed up with. However, between the RMR and the major, I didn't know this, but apparently this is in the rules. Between the RMR and the major, you cannot change your 5-man roster, but you can change your coach or substitute. Which means that a team like, say, Apex, who only had Stico for the duration of the major on a contract, they only had him here so they could get the RMR invite. They could theoretically have signed JKS, signed him up as a substitute for the major, because JKS wasn't signed up as a substitute for anyone, including G2. They could have signed him up as a sub for the Copenhagen major, and now sub him in for the major for Stico. So they've effectively made a roster move. There's been like Kassad made some cryptic tweet about like I think players who sign up to play
Yes.
the major should play the major. The rules support it. Stico probably not going to be with Apex anyway. Like that was a mutual deal. He went there to do a job which was qualified for the major, and now that job is done.
Mm-hmm.
Could be. There could be any other team who's doing this as well, but I feel like Apex was the one because Kine pointed this out to me with the rules and stuff, and he thought Apex was the one who would do it. I think Apex is the one who could do it. So someone could sign JKS at the moment and play with him in the Copenhagen major.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's a big one. If it does happen, it'd be a great. Either it's a full-time move for him and it ends up working long term, blah blah blah, or it's just an advert for himself. If he can join a random roster, essentially fill in spots, fill in roles, play well, that'd be great for him. I kind of get the idea of the Apex one, especially with Stico. He's not played bad by any means, but if you can upgrade a player, why not upgrade a player going into the major? It just makes sense. So
it's also the Jakem connection.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, it all makes sense. So I don't hate it. I do think that the JKS situation is just odd to me because I didn't understand the cut, the reasoning behind it, any of that stuff that went on. Some of the moves that have been suggested have been a bit weird, but this one, you know what, Apex is a good shout in terms of the level they're at, the level he's at. It kind of meshes. It'd probably be an improvement. I did think initially like you would see him just go to bleed just because of the Kassad connection, but the fact that he hasn't kind of just, I think it's a good thing. I don't think he'd have been that successful on that team. I kind of like the idea of him being on Apex a little better. So we'll see how it works out. But I'm not. He's not a player I fawn over. He's not a player I'm particularly in love with. So I'm not that invested in where he ends up. But I guess I can say that. Yeah, it's not a bad fit.
I think he's a good choice. He's another player I definitely think NIP are looking at the moment because he would be a great player to put in as like an anchor player. It's either him or Maxter, to be honest.
I'd be
So
dumb
it
not to
depends on
sign
the.
Maxter. I'm gonna be honest.
I mean, it
For
depends
NIP,
on what
at
you
what
want.
point? At what point do you stop just throwing money away and just go, "Hey, he's in the academy. He's really fucking good. Just sign him."
Yeah, I think for me it's pretty much a 50-50 between Maxter and JKS because I think Maxter would deliver, but JKS would deliver definitely. It doesn't matter what I think, he probably would. But yeah, yeah. There's not much to touch on about JKS. I think we already did when he got benched. So
yeah, that's the final
yeah.
things. It's kind of like a part of the shuffle. It's not really, but you've put it in there, and I don't hate it. Esperanto and Yugi are to return to CS. Now Yugi, cool, whatever. Esperanto. Now that's a player right there because he was so good mechanically, individually. He was an absolute tool, but he was really good at Counter Strike. Like there was no doubt about it. Like when he played on what was that team called, Valiance or
It was the thing that turned into crazy.
Yeah,
I always forget.
I
There
believe it
was
was
some hot.
Valiance, then became crazy, but it was with
The, ro-
Hunter
the,
and
ros-
Nexa.
the rosters that became crazy and Godsent in 2019, they sort of swapped players back and forth. Like it was Nexa was on both of them at some point, but
Yeah,
it was either Imperial or Valiance or No Chance or Crazy or any combination of all
no.
of
So he
those.
was on Imperial, then Valiance, which is the one I thought, and then
Yeah.
they became crazy. But no, when he was on those rosters, he was so good. Like he was a really aggressive, in your face kind of high impact player, but really talented, insane like mechanics. His hitting headshots left, right, and center, always a problem on the Deagle. I really looked forward to watching this player's entire career. Turns out he was an absolute dickhead and threw it all away, didn't try, was an asshole, blah blah blah. Went off and did his military service, and apparently now that he's come back, he's made this whole thing, like post about how much he regrets the way he behaved, la 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 la. We've heard it before, but I'm hoping it's real, and I'm hoping we see him on a team and he gets a chance and he proves that he is like still a high quality player who can like carry a series, because that's what he was back then. Like I've seen him do it on land. Like he was crazy good. So Looking forward to the Esperanto move. Yugi, whatever.
I did put both of these in here because I did just want to hear what you think about the players. Because I think there's a lot of varied opinions. I specifically don't like Esperanto a lot because he turned out to be as you said, a tool.
Yeah.
I think both of these are like 2018, 2019 players who sort of broke out there and were pretty good, and then just didn't do a lot. And I wonder now they both want to return to Counter Strike. Yeah. Esperanto. It seems like you think Esperanto could definitely work. What do you think about Yugi if he were to end up on like a Danish team?
I didn't think much of him before. I still don't think much of him now.
All right. Yep.
Good enough. That's as generous as I can be. I've been far less generous on videos that I made in the past.
Yeah.
So let's just leave it at that.
Yeah.
I'm not. I wasn't a big fan. I'm still not. Like, is he coming back as an AWPer? Is he coming back as something else? Because well, no. Okay. I'm not going to start elaborating on my opinions. Let's keep it polite today. Let's not go off like we did last week.
SB is only 22.
Yeah, he's young as hell.
I thought he would have been like 25 by now.
No. See, he was an absolute dickhead. But to be fair, he was a child. Like,
yeah.
There's reasons for this thing. Like, he's also like I'm not going to go too deep into it. But I've heard he's like a bit of a rich kid, sort of that kind of dickhead. Like he's just a bit of a knob, and I think that this sort of like military service thing is exactly what you want a player to have gone through. Hopefully it's legitimate that he's actually changed and he's not just like he's been smacked around the head a couple of times by a drill sergeant, writes an apology on Twitter, then goes straight back to being a twat. That would be a shame. Yep. But I'm hopeful. I'm really hopeful because he's undoubtedly a talent. And let's move on to our prospects of the week. A very important topic, I think, because well, it's me. I love talking about this sort of stuff, and it's all I'm good for. So let's start with mine, because the Asia RMR happened, and that means my favourite player in China got a lot of screen time, and that was Starry. I did actually go back and watch a couple of the games that they have played that I missed, because I thought, might as well. This is going to be way more fun than watching fucking GGAHL games. So I went back and watched Starry's matches, and my god, he's still crispy. Like, he's added some like a little more depth to his game, because when we first sort of saw him, he was like 16, popping heads with deagles, like doing the crazy like young Amos stuff that you kind of come to expect. But now he's matured. He's now the #1 star. I think it's fair to say on this LinVision side, he's expected to be the guy who puts up the biggest numbers, take the biggest fights, and win them the game. And well, clearly did a good enough job of it. I mean, sure, we all believe to a certain extent that Greyhound threw the veto by allowing Nuke through. That was a bit of an odd one, and they got summarily crushed. But he was still top of the scoreboard. He was still put up massive damage. He put up crazy numbers. He's that guy. I'm a huge fan of Starry. He's still only 19. And if we're going to see the Chinese scene keep succeeding, he's going to be one of the 2 or 3 players responsible for it. Like, you're talking about guys like Mercury, guys like Starry, and potentially like someone like Mosia when he gets brought back off the bench. But he's up there, and he's an absolute beast.
Yeah. I don't have a lot to say about him. Sorry. He's put up good numbers for years. We talked about him a bit earlier. Yeah, he's still only 19. It's great that he's apparently fitting into this LinVision team. Like we said, he's only 19, but he's already been on this team for 2.5 years. Finally going to his first major.
Yeah, big one.
Yeah, big one. Good player. I don't have anything to add.
No, I mean, it's just cool to see like this team also peak at like start peaking now. If they can keep it up and qualify for Shanghai, that's going to be super hype. It'd be interesting to see if these guys go and do well, like the Mongols and them do well. If we get to see like an extra slot for the Asia RMR, like maybe we take another one away from the North Americans. I don't know. They have some system depending on who qualifies for what.
I still haven't figured that out. I still haven't figured it out. There is a system, and I think it might have to do with who comes last or something like that. Like,
in any case, there is technically, I think, a world where we see an extra slot for Asia, and potentially maybe Europe's the one that loses one. Maybe let's be generous to NA. Yeah, you guys could win stuff. Yeah, you guys will keep your slot. Europe will lose one, totally. So potentially that could happen. That'll be cool to see. It's like 2 Chinese teams or like 2 Mongolian teams and a Chinese team in the Shanghai major. Like, that'd be sick. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think it's great. Absolutely great. Who have you picked? I believe you've gone for another. You've gone for one that's not actually in the RMRs, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I went for Result because Forza have basically only played 2 things this week, and it has been or one thing even. It was the Open qualifier and then the closed qualifier for ESL Challenger Melbourne, which is not huge, but they did play quite a lot of maps and result average 1.40 over 14 maps. Result has actually been to a bunch of tier 1 events. I think he's even been at a major because Forza were actually pretty good last year. Before they started sort of breaking down. He's a good player. He's a good player. I'm just sort of picking him at this point because he did good this week. He's young, and I think he deserves a bit of recognition for the stats that he put up this week.
Okay.
Very very aggressive player, which I like. And it's cool that Forza have actually started doing something this week, which is, I mean, okay, I find it hard to support Forza because they are like the Russian Lukoil team, but they have some cool players that I like, especially after losing Jerry. I thought it was Jover, and for a while it was Jover, but now Shalfie, who I think took over calls afterwards.
I think he has. He's off the AWP. Like,
Was he ever on the op?
yeah.
Wasn't it Zorti when Shalfie and him was playing together?
No, but okay. They had a weird moment where they had multiple AWPers, and it was kind of funny. I believe he was like second AWPing on that team.
Right. Yeah, Shelfie's off the op. Gokushima is on it. So like Shelfie and Result have actually like pulled this back. Forza are a decent team, seemingly. They very nearly made it to Melbourne. They lost to Aurora in the final game, who they beat in the close qualifier previously, I think. So that would have been close. Yeah, Forza back to being a decent team. Result at the forefront. Very aggressive rifler. I like his playstyle. I like what he's doing. Good job.
Yeah, he
Still
was good
lost
on.
to Metsport yesterday. Got fucking stomped. Sweden #1.
Yeah, I wouldn't. There we go. There's our moment of Swedishness. Thankfully, for once, it wasn't about fucking Isak. But no, Results, for me, like I remember watching him on, was it like VP Prodigy he was on? He was in the Academy Leagues with them, with Latic and some other guys. And he was decent then. He wasn't like blowing my mind, but he was like a solid player. Like when I had to pick my highlights, I think for that roster, he was one of the two guys I could talk about. And like Latic, it was more like, yo, he's not gonna die. He was very aggressively CIS in that sense, but no, he's got talent. He's been grinding up, and the fact they're making this roster work is pretty impressive. I've been asked to make videos about Gokushima in the past, even though he's like 24, and I was like, it's just not how prospects work. But it's cool to see that he's playing well because he was always like another one of those, like, you know, there's another Russian AWPer, there's another Ukrainian AWPer, like this, an endless supply of them. Well, here he is performing to a fairly like high level. The team's winning games. Sure, they didn't make Melbourne, but hey, good Counter Strike's good Counter Strike, and we'd rather watch that than the fucking bottom of the Asia RMR.
Yeah, we would.
I'm still traumatized, and I will be for at least another week.
I'm watching Dallas Open qualifiers tonight.
Oh god,
day 2. I watched the rough day yesterday, and today is just a boring day. But hopefully Swedes go through.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be nice. Well, for you, I'm not that invested. I mean, it's cool if Metasport go deep because I'm kind of invested in that roster. I think there's a lot of potential there. Like they're pretty much as good as you can build with pure Swedes right now. So hopefully they can succeed. But no, that's pretty much it. I was going to throw in another segment here if we weren't over the hour mark. We are. So sorry, legends. I'm going to have to go. But no, it's been the week. Hopefully next week's just as good. We've got new graphics on set up, and I've started putting up some like soundproofing to try and improve my mic quality because I realized it was dog last week. So hopefully that's actually worked. And yeah, Quack, as always, thank you for joining me. Big thanks to anyone watching. Remember, I need to start shouting out membership stuff like early in episodes. Members, become members, and then you can ask questions on the Q&A and see videos early. Like not this video, but like pretty much every other video I release comes out like 2 days early for members now. So why be late to the party when you can have a lot more fun? And yeah,
we did this month's Q&A last week, and it was actually really fun because we got a lot of good questions. So keep sending those in.
That was always fun. So I'm not in the country next week. So maybe we'll do Retake the Week Monday if not everything's not too crazy. Because as much as I'd love to use my grandparents' like village internet in wherever the fuck they live,
Retake the Week webcam might be delayed. 360p edition.
Yeah, it'll be delayed of probably a day, just to make a good quality upload. There's no point trying to force it. I might as well just take my holiday and make the most of it. So we'll see you then, and then we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.